going to a different time zone, so that was nice today. And even better, I only live a half a block from here, so I was able to walk here this afternoon, which was really nice. I'd like to especially welcome any newcomers to the town of Fort Frances. Our quiet little community lies along the banks of Rainy River. You may have enjoyed beautiful Rainy Lake as you drove into town, if winter had ever decided to grace us with spring at a normal time this year. We do have a riverfront walkway on our south side, and if you wish to stretch your legs after a long day of sitting, I suggest you take that in. We're very proud of our state-of-the-art library and technology center that you might like to visit. And in the center of our downtown area, you'll find our museum and some unique shops and stores, as well as the Rainy Lake Square that features outdoor markets from spring to fall and is complete with a stage where outdoor concerts and community events can be held in Fort Frances. We are currently in a stage of economic transition as our 100-year-old mill continues to be demolished. And if you happen to drive along that southern part of Fort Frances, you will see huge piles of steel and metal, concrete, and so on as our mill is coming down. Though the history of the logging industry has changed the future economy of our town and district, we look forward to new opportunities that we are discussing and approaching. We have a great deal of housing, industrial, and business and tourism projects that we hope to see developed in our community, and we look forward to a brighter future for our residents and for our workforce. I would like to personally thank the NOMA board for all you do to advocate and promote Northwestern Ontario as an important part of the province of Ontario, dedicating your time to ensuring we have a strong voice at the table, promoting our area as a place to visit, play, and stay, and making sure that our concerns and unique issues in the Northwest are being heard in Toronto. A special thank you to Andrea for all your work in organizing this event and for your commitment to the municipalities in this region, keeping us informed of crucial concerns, networking possibilities, and issues that we collectively need to address. I would also like to thank Wendy for your wonderful leadership and dedication to NOMA. Through your persistence and involvement with Roma, AMO, and the government, you have made a huge and positive influence on how this part of the province is becoming more recognized. And thank you, Wendy. So once again, welcome to Fort Frances and the 2022 NOMA Conference. We are honored to host this event. I hope your stay here this week is great and that you might visit us again for some relaxation on our area lakes, camping, fishing, and boating. Thank you, Miigwech. We've had a great loss in Fort Frances this last little while. Former Mayor Roy Avis passed away unexpectedly after a fall. Roy was born in Kenora and grew up in Fort Frances, where he resided his entire life. I first got to know Roy around 30 years ago when our sons played AA hockey together. That common interest kept us connected through the years and to this time now as our grandsons play hockey together. Roy had played hockey himself as a young man at the University of Superior after high school. I had the honor to connect with Roy in a different way when I was elected to council in 2014. At the time, Roy ran for re-election as mayor of Fort Frances, and for a third term, led council in that capacity. No one has ever led led our office of the municipality as both councillor and then mayor for as long as Roy did. 9 years as a councillor and 12 years as mayor. Roy loved this community and was very proud to tell anyone he met that there was no better place to be than on Rainy Lake and to live in Fort Frances. He was a fierce advocate in the attempt to keep our pulp and paper and craft mills open when Resolute decided to shut down the site. Through his quiet, gentle, hardworking tenure on council, Roy made many accomplishments, such as the addition of the second hockey rink, our Ice for Kids arena, the swimming pool and gym areas at our sportsplex, the building of our library and technology center, Rainy Lake Square, among many others. Roy served on the Fort Frances Power Corporation Board, Police Services Board, Network Services Board, Rainy River District School Board, Fort Frances Curling Club Executive, and many others. He received the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal in 2012 and was a finalist in the 2018 Canadian Automotive Dealers Association Laureate Award for ambassadorship. Through all his community involvements, Roy was a successful businessman, owning and operating West End Motors car dealership. He loved the business even as a young boy and came back from university to join the family business, which he took over from his father. Roy recently passed the helm and operation to his son, Chad. Though Roy had many challenges with his health and his mobility issues over the last few years, it did keep him from going into the office at the car dealership just a little bit. Chad told me that he still came every single morning, stayed for a while, went for lunch, and came back in the afternoon. He was so dedicated and loved his business. And he was still an active member and very knowledgeable asset to the local Power Corp board. Roy, your passion and dedication has been an inspiration to me, and your advice and mentorship has given me the determination to try to make this community a better place to live. You showed me that through the ups and downs of municipal leadership and the challenges we all face as we work hard to advocate and improve our municipalities, our corner of the province and our country, we can and we will make a difference. Thank you, my friend, for a life well lived. Rest in peace.
Thank you, June. Roy really was a force to be reckoned with, wasn't he? Now I'd invite Councillor Janet Hager to come forward to bring greetings from Roma.
Thanks, Wendy. Good afternoon, everyone. As Wendy said, I'm Janet Hager. I hail from Red Lake, and I am the Roma Zone 10 representative, and I'm bringing greetings on behalf of Chair Robin Jones. She is in a location right now without any communication, which we get in the north. So here are some words from Robin. A strong relationship exists between Roma and NOMA due to our common beliefs and the many opportunities and challenges that we share. We believe that rural and Northern Ontario has untapped potential to contribute to the province's economic strength and resilience. By supplying more raw materials and manufactured goods for in-province markets and exports, and by ensuring that vital goods are close at hand, as just in case global supply chains remain both unpredictable and expensive. So this is crucial for materials and goods that are strategically important and are likely to remain in high demand. Roma and NOMA see opportunity for rural and Northern Ontario to grow its resource-based sectors. This includes tourism and product with its products and experiences, its education and training capabilities, the productivity of its diversified workforce, and the affordable, welcoming nature of its communities. All of these form an integral part of the province we call home. ROMA's consultations in 2021 confirmed that municipalities, economic development officials, sector-focused associations, and not-for-profit organizations are eager for a new collaborative approach to fulfilling rural Ontario's potential. ROMA believes that there are significant opportunities for collaboration between our organizations and with municipal governments and the province. We believe that members of all communities should share in the prosperity of Ontario, and we look forward to continuing and strengthening our relationship with NOMA. Have a wonderful conference, everyone.
Thank you, ladies. Okay. Don't follow your programs because I've already messed them all up. So it's just a pure excitement of being in the room with all of you and seeing so many faces, and you know, you on your tags it says whether or not you can you feel like hugging or contact. I'm all about the hugs, man. So I haven't seen most of you for 2 years, so bring it on. So welcome to our 76th NOMA annual meeting and conference. It's been a long time coming, and it's so nice to see everyone today and so many new friends. And I just want to do a couple of housekeeping rules so that, Andrea, come out for a minute. Before we get going, in case you haven't met Andrea, she's been our new executive director for NOMA just a little over a year now, I think, So this is the face to the name. So, you know, congratulations to Wendy Brunetta and to Andrea for putting together the conference. They worked hard to set everything up, and you just have no idea. I think Kristen Oliver is the only one that has any idea about the work that goes on behind the scenes to put this work together. So everyone, this is Andrea Strawson, our executive director. Washrooms are located in the hallway. And I just have to share with you, the minute I walked in here last night, I said to Wendy and her husband, John, oh my God, I haven't been in this building since I curled in the provincial Scotties here. So it took me a minute to get into the building and go, oh my Lord, I think I lost my last game right over here in sheet 4. So don't look up our stats. They weren't that great. I should have said this beforehand, but please shut off your ringers. I heard a few go on during the start, and maybe one of them are mine and I forgot to shut it off. I don't know, but just out of respect to our speakers today, please shut your ringers off. To help ensure that everyone's comfortable, everyone was given like I said, the sticker to identify your contact comfortable level of comfort by wearing either the blue or the yellow. I think most people put a blue and yellow just in support of Ukraine. So you might have to ask for clarification if there's 2 colors there. So I do ask that if you are going up to the microphone to wear a mask when you want to go and ask a question. Our conference theme this year is Thriving in a Time of Change. And boy, has it ever been a couple of years of change. We've had some people that we've lost over the last couple of years. We have a pandemic that we've had to deal with. We've had to do some last minute planning. And for the first time ever, holy man, we can have virtual meetings. And some of us took advantage of that and took those virtual meetings elsewhere. The ability to have council members who have been in other places to attend meetings virtually, definitely some pros to that ability. We had constantly had to pivot to address the challenges presented to us, and I think we showed amazing resilience and adaptability. The post-pandemic world looks a little different than the one we were in 3 years ago, but this is a perfect opportunity to implement best practices, prepare for the future so that we can finally see the light at the end of this tunnel. I'll tell you, when I woke up this morning at the wrong, had my frozen water over where I am, but to hear the water flowing and to hear that, feel that sun shining was an amazing feeling and an indication that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Again, I'm super excited to see everybody in person and look forward to reconnecting with all of my friends and all of my colleagues. The meetings, those of you that I haven't met in the past, please come up, introduce yourself. Looking forward to seeing everyone. You can see that time has gone by since we last met because you all would have noticed my shiny black hair now and turned a different shade now. So that's how much time it's been since we've been together. Over the next few days, we look forward to gaining insight and sharing strategies on how to effectively thrive in a post-pandemic world. And if you haven't had a chance to flip through your agenda, you'll see that there's some really great things planned for the next couple of days. We have a membership of 37 municipalities that belong to NOMA, and I want to take a minute to recognize the communities who have joined us here today. So we're going to do our annual roll call and ask for the communities to stand up as I call your municipality. So we'll start with the district of Rainy River. So the township of Alberton. Awesome. Town of Atikokan. Township of Chapel. Township of Dawson. Township of Emo. Town of Fort Francis. Township of Lake of the Woods. Township of La Valley. Township of Morley. Township of Rainy River. Sorry, Town of Rainy River. My mistake, Your Worship. City of Kenora. Municipality of Mayshon. Municipality of Red Lake. Now remember, you all got quorum at your tables. Municipality of Sioux Lookout. Township of Ear Falls. Township of Ignis. Township of Pickle Lake. Township of Sioux Narrows, Nestor Falls. Thunder Bay District, City of Thunder Bay. Municipality of Greenstone. Municipality of Nebing. I think they're all virtual. Municipality of Oliver Papoonge. Municipality of Shunya. Town of Marathon. They're really excited to see us. Township of Hornpain, I believe, is virtual. Township of Manitouage. Township of Nipigon. Township of O'Connor. Township of Scriber. Township of Terrace Bay. Township of Red Rock. Town of Hearst. And this year's conference, of course, is hosted by the town of Fort Francis. So thank you. Thank you to all for coming. So, as you know, there's an election looming. And so there was some changes in some of our attendees from some of the leadership. So all the parties bring greetings to us today virtually. So it's my honor to introduce Premier Doug Ford. Doug Ford is the Premier of Ontario. He was also elected as the MPP for Etobicoke North in 2018. Previously, Doug Ford served as Toronto City Councillor from 2010 to 2014 and was the Vice Chair of the Budget Committee, where he delivered hundreds of millions of dollars in savings for taxpayers. While on City Council, Premier Ford served on board of Build Toronto, and was director of the Canadian National Exhibition. He also served on the Civic Appointments Committee and the Government Management Committee at Council. Dedicated community leader, successful businessman with Deco labels, and a passionate advocate for the people. Doug's commitment to public service runs in the family. 3 generations of Fords have served the people of Ontario in elected office. Doug is a lifelong resident of the community of Etobicoke, lives there with his wife, Carla, and 4 daughters. His commitment to public service includes over 20 years of dedicated work with Toronto West Rotary Club and serving as a proud member of the Royal Canadian Legion.
Hi, everyone. I want to send my very best wishes to those participating in this year's NOMA conference. I also want to take this opportunity to recognize and thank you all for the job you've done over the past 2 years. This has truly been a Team Ontario effort. However, the pandemic has made it clear that we must continue to get shovels in the ground to build the infrastructure our growing province needs, including in Northwestern Ontario. We're getting it done by investing over $5 million to support the planning and design of a cardiovascular surgery program at Thunder Bay Regional Health Sciences Center. Investing over $117 million in rural and northern projects through an ICIP fund. Building a new modern correctional complex in Thunder Bay. Investing $11 million to bring fast, high-speed internet to towns and First Nation communities in Northern Ontario, widening Highway 11 to 4 lanes between Thunder Bay and Nipigon, and providing $15 million annually through NORDS to support investments in local infrastructure. These projects are part of our plan to build strong communities, support economic development, and create conditions for businesses to thrive. We've also released the government's critical mineral strategy. It's our 5-year roadmap to safely expand critical mineral extraction and connect resource industries in Northern Ontario to the future of clean steel and electric vehicles in Southern Ontario. After years of being ignored by previous governments, our government is getting it done for Northern Ontario. We will leave no region behind as we build a better and brighter tomorrow for all of Ontario. I want to thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Premier Ford. Stephen Del Duca, leader of the Ontario Liberal Party, has been fighting for progress and improving the communities he lives in and serves. Yet his greatest achievement is being a loving husband and father to his 2 girls. Stephen has focused on making life more affordable, including giving workers and entrepreneurs real economic dignity, improving healthcare and education, ending the housing crisis, and fighting climate change.
Distinguished mayors and councillors, staff and guests, thank you so much for this opportunity to address your conference, and congratulations on being able to meet this year in person. Now, I know that the volunteers took out the ice just last week, so I trust you're all getting a warm Fort Francis welcome. I want to begin today by saying a few words about Michael Gravel. As you've no doubt heard, Michael is not going to be running again as he focuses on battling cancer. I've been Michael's colleague and friend for many years now, and while I obviously understand and fully support his decision, it is tough to hear. We all know what a tremendous force for positive change that he's been for NOMA and the North. For example, it's because of Michael that we were able to 4-lane the highway between Thunder Bay and Nipigon. It's because of Michael that the first ever Northern Law School was brought to Lakehead University. And it's because of Michael's tireless advocacy that the province of Ontario provided access to insulin pumps for type 2 diabetics. Well, these are just some of the remarkable achievements of Michael Gravel, and I am so grateful and honored to have been able to serve with such a distinguished and principled man. So I sincerely hope that you'll join me in wishing our friend Michael a full and speedy recovery. Public service is such a tough job at the best of times. You know this. You've been serving the public at an exceptionally challenging moment, facing a crisis that you couldn't have predicted when you were elected or re-elected to office 4 years ago. And it hasn't been easy. But I want you to know that your leadership is noticed and deeply appreciated. It's hard to believe, but pretty soon you'll have to choose whether or not to run again And maybe some of you already have. Now, of course, before that, we've got a provincial election coming. So I wanted to take just a few minutes to tell you what I think is at stake in the next few weeks. It comes down, as it always does, to choices. Citizens choose based on the choices that their leaders make or don't make or will make. Obviously, I hope that they'll choose to make a change, because I think people in the North will see that the Ford Conservatives have chosen not to act on their behalf. Despite saying that he'd hop on a bulldozer himself, 4 years later, Doug Ford isn't meaningfully closer to building the road that we need to the Ring of Fire. The Ford Conservatives also deliberately cut French language services, which so many Northern communities depend upon. And Doug Ford, as you will all remember, wasted so much time in political capital before COVID, settling old scores with Toronto City Council, when he should have been working with you to make a positive difference for the North. I think it's become crystal clear that the North has been an afterthought for the Ford Conservatives, a place that they use for last-minute photo ops and empty promises right before an election. That's not good enough. You deserve better. So what choices would an Ontario Liberal government make? When the Conservatives chose to download costs and responsibilities to your governments, Ontario Liberals will work with you to review uploading services and infrastructure so you can focus on what matters most in your communities. While they chose to roll back electric vehicle infrastructure, we'd expand it so that drivers in the North can choose to go electric too. While they chose to ignore the opioid crisis that's raging in the North and everywhere else, we'd instead support the public health resources that you need to deal with this ongoing tragedy. And while they chose to ignore healthcare services and infrastructure in the North, we see it as a critical need. So Ontario Liberals are committed to adding cardiovascular surgery services in Thunder Bay, building new hospitals in Moosonee and Moose Factory Island, and redeveloping the hospital in Kenora. Those Ford Conservatives, they choose to build a new highway above Toronto. They call it the 413. That reckless highway will cost Ontario taxpayers, including all of you, $10 billion. Only save a few thousand drivers about 30 seconds per trip, and pave over important wetlands and valuable farmland forever. Ontario Liberals would choose to stop that reckless project and invest those billions of dollars back into our crumbling and neglected schools so that all Ontario kids in every corner of our province, including the North, have that great shot at a wonderful future. Now, when it comes to roads, we'll focus, for example, on the widening of Highway 17 from Kenora to Manitoba. We'll advance the proven 2+1 highway model to support safe passing on major northern highways. And we'll upgrade winter maintenance so that northern families aren't put at unnecessary risk. And above all, where the Ford Conservatives have chosen callously to let the people of our province fend for themselves, whether that's seniors desperately trying to live safely in their homes as long as possible, or young people trapped in low-paying gig economy jobs, we choose to make sure that people in this province live, work, and retire in dignity. Now, I've spoken about economic dignity a lot in the lead up to this election, and about our plans to support Ontario workers with a regionally adjusted living wage, to make sure that gig economy workers have portable benefits, and to support small businesses, particularly ones hit hardest during COVID, and give new resources and breaks to startups and innovators. And that's because our province, this province that I love so much, has long operated on a simple and profound principle, one that attracted my family to live right here, and one that sustained us Del Duca kids growing up. And that idea is this: if you work hard, if you show up, we'll have your back. And that's particularly true for our seniors. When you've given your entire life to building a home and a future for your family, you should be able to retire and live in dignity. And it falls to the people who are working right now, to you and to me, to make sure that that happens, not only so that our parents and grandparents can live well, but so that the system we build together is ready for us when it's our turn or our kids' turn. And you know that hasn't been happening. It is appalling to me that governments of all stripes have left older Ontarians without the supports they've earned after a lifetime of work and self-sacrifice. We will change that. An Ontario Liberal government would choose to revolutionize the way that we take care of our elders to make sure they can live at home for life. We're going to end for-profit long-term care, which has so badly failed our seniors, as we saw so clearly during the pandemic. We'll make sure all seniors get the professional help and support they need to stay in their own homes, including care, like taking a shower, cooking a meal, taking their medication, or having a friendly face to have a chat with. We're going to build actual homes for seniors, not glorified warehouses that institutionalize the elderly, but honest to goodness homes that have personal support workers, nurses, and other specialists on site 24/7. And we'll double the provincial top up for old age security, chipping in an extra $1,000 annually for the seniors who are most in need to help them live at home too. We'll choose to put our parents and grandparents ahead of the financial interests of the for-profit long-term care system. Our tax dollars, yours and mine, should never go to schemes that favor the rich. The benefits of those dollars need to be returned to the people who earned them in the first place. That's what a competent, thoughtful government does. You know this. You live this. That's not just the way to build up a strong economy, though it does that. And that's not just a way to create better and more vibrant communities in the north, the south, the east, and the west, though it does that too. That's an act of respect, of caring, and a way to ensure that the next generation, my kids and yours, one day my grandkids and yours, have a shot at a great future, even better than the one that we had, and that Ontario remains a place to grow. I believe in expanding opportunity for all Ontarians. That is my bedrock belief. In a few weeks, we'll all be heading to the polls to choose between two parties with vastly differing ideas about how to lead our province. And now after 4 years of a government making every conceivable bad choice, well, now it's your choice. And I believe that Ontarians will choose to elect a government that is caring and competent, that will build what we need to succeed, one that will always put everyday people first, one that will look forward, always looking forward with determination and optimism and hope. I want us to build an Ontario that works as hard as Ontarians work. I want us to build an Ontario that cares as much as Ontarians care. And I look forward to building that Ontario together. Thank you so very much, and all the best for the rest of your conference.
Next, we have Andrea Horvath, Leader of the Official Opposition. Andrea is the daughter of a unionized auto worker, proud to be born and raised in working class Hamilton. Elected to Hamilton City Council in 1997, she did everything she could to fight for people and the small local businesses in the ward. In 2004, the working folks of Hamilton Centre to Queen's Park. And in 2009, New Democrats across the province chose her as their leader. She focused on rebuilding and improving education and healthcare, fighting for the next generation, and finally giving working people the respect they deserve. Andrea Horvath.
Thank you, Miigwech, Wendy, for that fabulous introduction. I'm so thrilled to be with all of you again at NOMA, and I want to thank you so much for inviting me here. I'm proud of the relationship that we have with NOMA. It's a strong relationship that we've built over many years, and really happy to talk to you about what's happening now and where we can go in the future. I know it's been hard for the last couple of years. It's been really difficult for people in your communities. And I want to thank you for everything you've done to support and hold up people who have had a really rough time in the context of COVID-19. You know that municipal governments, as I've always said, are the closest to the people. And when there's a crisis like a worldwide pandemic, having you there supporting your residents day in and day out has been extremely, extremely important. So thank you for that. Really great work. But I do have to say, I don't think that our provincial government has been there providing you with the support that you need to do that job easily. And so I'm here to once again let you know that I believe municipalities deserve a new deal from the province of Ontario, and that's what we are promising or committing to in this election. And we've done that before. We know, though, that COVID-19 has really shown a lot of people where the cracks are, the kinds of things that are broken. And with a new deal, I think that the province and municipalities together can actually get to the work of fixing the things that are broken. For decades, municipalities, as you know, have been forced to provide provincial services, essential services, infrastructure on really shoestring budgets, particularly in Northern Ontario. And that's got to stop. We've had a disastrous legacy, as you know, of cuts that started back with the last PC government, the last Conservative government, with their cuts and their downloading. And 20 years later, it's still a problem. The Liberals certainly didn't fix it when they were in office. And of course, that made it even more difficult for municipalities. And always northern and rural municipalities are the ones that feel the pinch even harder, that feel that lack of support from the provincial government even more so than other communities. So we are going to make some commitments around how we turn that around. We've seen, as Doug Ford has refused to help you during COVID-19 in the way that they could have, the way that he could have and should have. As a result, things have gotten much, much worse. We saw that they didn't bother to even spend the infrastructure dollars that they had committed to. In 2021, 2022's budget, they spent just 2% of the community infrastructure fund. That's not going to get us to where we need to go in improving the services delivered by municipalities. We know that the government had really big announcements. Mr. Ford, you know, he did a great job of trying to convince people he was going to address the broadband situation in the north, but he hasn't done that. Not only did he cut the budget in half, but then he spent or invested only a fraction of that reduced budget. Something like 0.6% of that budget was spent. That's not good enough. Access to broadband has to be a priority, and we will make sure that it is. We also saw, as you tried so hard to grapple with the increasing opioid problems, the mental health and addictions concerns, the homelessness that has ballooned in your communities over COVID, and the government of Ontario, the Ford government, has been nowhere to be found. They refuse to act on the basics, the fundamentals, to save lives and help you address the pain in your communities. You know, whether it was the Ford government or the Liberals before them, northern communities just simply have not been prioritized, and it's your constituents that pay the price. And what I can guarantee you is we're in an election again. It's a couple of weeks away. These guys are just not going to fix the things that they've broken over the years. They're not going to fix the things that they promised you they were going to fix all along over the last 20 years and still haven't fixed. And one thing for sure is the case, and that is that COVID-19 really has, I think, laid bare exactly how many things are broken and how much work we need to do to support people and to make sure municipalities like the ones that you represent are able to provide the services that you need. And the only way you can do that is with a true partner at the provincial level. I know that you've heard those words before. I've been at some of those NOMA and AMO conferences where the government of the day tells you they want a relationship of respect and partnership, but it hasn't happened. And I want you to know that it is a priority for me to launch a new deal for municipalities and to make sure that that new deal, that new relationship is very thoughtful and particular about the supports that northern communities need and deserve. We will be investing in essential services, in infrastructure, and we'll be working in partnership with you to make sure that we pay our fair share, that the province pays our fair share of services and of infrastructure, and that we're also working with you to push for federal supports as well. Because, you know, true recovery coming out of COVID-19, it needs ongoing support. It needs ongoing provincial support, not short-term gimmicky announcements like Mr. Ford tends to prefer. For me, the way forward means investing in consistent, predictable funding for municipalities, making sure that we invest what we say we're going to invest in. You need cost sharing of municipal provincial priorities, things like infrastructure, things like housing, things like childcare. You need help to develop and finance over time to deliver long-term solutions. And you need help. You need help to address the mental health and addictions crises that I know your communities are facing and have been for some time, and that again got so much worse over COVID-19. Some of the projects that we think are important is the improvement, for example, of highway safety for the movement of people, as well as freight through the north. And we've, as you know, made commitments, for example, like the twinning of Highway 11 and 17. But, you know, just imagine if you finally actually do have a true partner in provincial government, a partner that properly funds housing and homelessness prevention initiatives. We have a plan to build 100,000 new affordable housing units, including 30,000 units of supportive housing to prevent people from having a revolving door experience, to help them get the kinds of supports they need to keep a roof over their head. That would be a true solution that'll make a real difference in communities like the ones that you represent. Imagine a government that actually finally makes good on the broadband promise, that actually gets to the point where the broadband infrastructure is being provided, and that it's the cutting edge service, a level of service that's not that's not old kind of technology, that's true bandwidth that gives you the access that you absolutely need, and that provides opportunities, procurement opportunities for some of the smaller fish. Doug Ford likes his big fish buddies. But I got to tell you, some of the smaller and medium-sized ISPs need to be in the game. Those are the folks that are going to help you provide service to your communities, not just the big telecom monopolies that we know the Premier's got, you know, buddies working in. What I can say to you absolutely upfront is that we can be that partner for you. We can do these things together. We can do these things together starting in a couple of weeks time as real partners, not treating you as adversaries, not saying one thing and then, you know, cutting the next day, but actually solving the ongoing concerns that you've been telling me about for some time now. Together, let's do that. Let's finally fix what's broken. Let's start laying a strong and lasting foundation for the thriving of rural Ontario, of Northern Ontario, of Northern Ontario Municipal Association member municipalities, because we know we can. It's absolutely something that can be achieved, a long-standing, lasting foundation, not just for now. Yes, absolutely, fix the things that need to be fixed now, but also lay that strong foundation for the next generations so that Northern Ontario continues to thrive for decades and decades and decades to come. Thank you so much. I know that's a relationship that I can work with you on and that we can deliver on for the people of Northern Ontario. Thanks for your time. Enjoy the rest of the conference. Merci beaucoup. Miigwech.
Thanks, Andrea. Michael Schreiner, leader of the Green Party of Ontario and the MPP for Guelph, is the first Green MPP elected to the Ontario Legislature in 2018. Leader of the Ontario Greens for more than a decade, Mike is known at Queen's Park as a champion for climate action, affordable housing, local food and water initiatives, protecting Ontario's frontline health workers and small business. Mike, his wife Sandy, and their 2 daughters now like to spend their free time hiking, cycling, and staying active in their community.
Bonjour tout le monde. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me, although I wish I was with you in person. Wherever you live, Ontario has a rich Indigenous history. I live in Guelph, the treaty lands of the Mississauga of the Credit First Nation, covered under Treaty 3, the Between the Lakes Purchase. I want to reaffirm the Ontario Greens' commitment to the truth and reconciliation process, which is vital to combating colonialism and healing relationships. I also want to deeply thank Indigenous peoples for the lessons they have taught me about stewardship, taking care of the people, the plants, animals, land, and water today and for the next 7 generations. Stewardship is at the core of what the Ontario Greens are all about, caring for the land, the water, and the people who live here. And I want to thank each and every one of you for being stewards of your communities. Unfortunately, we've all been through a rough couple of years. The COVID-19 pandemic has turned our lives upside down, forced businesses to close, sent kids home from school, and closed playgrounds. It has also put tremendous pressure on our systems of care and on essential workers who kept us going in the darkest days, providing care, ensuring goods still flowed, and providing services we rely on. I want to thank them. As we look forward to recovery, it's clear that there are cracks in the systems we depend on every day, from jobs to healthcare to housing. The housing affordability crisis has reached a breaking point. The rising cost of living is hitting families hard. Climate-fueled weather is threatening people's lives, livelihoods, and property. You all experienced that firsthand with the forest fires last summer. It's all negatively affecting people's mental health. We need new solutions to these old problems. The half measures and election gimmicks from the other parties will only paper over the cracks. We have to act now. We cannot afford to wait. I appreciate that your municipalities have been under immense pressure these past few years, with previous governments downloading so many social costs onto municipalities. I recognize the tremendous burden that has been placed on your communities. And I want to thank you all for stepping up and doing what's necessary to help your residents through this difficult time. It hasn't gone unnoticed. It's time to stop the province downloading costs onto the property tax base. The Ontario Greens have a plan that begins with uploading 50% of all shelter and community housing costs as part of our plan to address the housing affordability crisis. This will take some pressure off of municipal budgets while still allowing municipalities to maintain management control. We will commit to long-term stable funding for the Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund, and we will pace that funding with inflation to better reflect your local economic and fiscal circumstances, and to address the rising building costs you all face, while making it easier for you to plan in a fiscally responsible way. The Ontario Greens also recognize that your communities are also shouldering mounting costs of adapting to and dealing with the fallout of the climate crisis. When I came into office in 2018, I asked the Financial Accountability Officer to look at just how much climate change was going to cost our province. And the FAO was clear. Climate change is nature's tax on everything. The FAO estimated the impact of extreme rainfall and heat alone will cost an additional $6 billion to maintain just public buildings and facilities over the rest of this decade. These costs cannot and should not be downloaded onto you and the property tax base. That's why the Ontario Greens will create a $2 billion a year climate adaptation fund to support municipalities with green and resilient infrastructure. Because we must plan for climate adaptation, for the changes that are already baked in, so that we can continue to have thriving local communities. Thriving communities where we create new career opportunities and better jobs in the fast-growing new climate economy. working in partnership with northern municipalities and indigenous communities to build shared prosperity in a mining to manufacturing electric battery and vehicle supply chain. Taking advantage of sustainable forestry practices to build a high value-added timber building industry to maximize job and economic benefits for northern communities. We will work with you to help people and businesses save money by saving energy through our green building retrofit program. We can put thousands of construction and tradespeople to work, making our buildings more energy efficient. Because the new climate economy in Ontario is here for the taking. We can integrate clean tech solutions into our industrial processes. We can support the forestry sector to provide the feedstock for bioproducts. Greens are laser focused on kickstarting a green recovery by creating new careers and better jobs for Northerners as we make Ontario a clean tech giant in the fastest growing sectors of the global economy. To make this a reality, we need a government that takes the climate crisis seriously. And that's why I'm so pleased to say to you that the Ontario Greens will pledge $1.7 billion over 4 years to address labor shortages in the new climate economy sectors by covering a year of college and 1 year of paid apprenticeship for 60,000 students entering the green workforce. Because that's the leadership Ontarians deserve. Leadership that understands how important economic prosperity is to generating the financial resources we need to build caring communities and invest in the people who care for us, in childcare, in elder care, in healthcare, where we need more doctors and nurses in northern communities. I'd like to take a moment to recognize the unique challenges that your communities are facing with the shadow mental health pandemic. Ontario Greens recognize that the mental health and drug poisoning crisis in the north is even more severe, that everything is not okay. And so I'm so proud that the Ontario Greens were the first party in Ontario history to release a standalone mental health strategy, one that has received widespread support from experts in the mental health and addiction sector to immediately address the mental health crisis affecting your communities. The Ontario Greens will make investments to ensure core mental health and addiction services are available in all regions of Ontario so people can access the care they need where they live. Our plan will add $6.6 billion over 4 years for publicly funded mental health and addiction services, to expand access under OHIP, and to provide an immediate base budget increase of 8% to the community mental health sector. Because mental health is health. Our plan will allow local communities more decision-making power in how mental health and addiction funds are distributed within their region. We are at a critically important moment in Ontario's history because it is now or never to address the climate crisis. A whole generation is wondering if they will ever be able to afford a home. And the pandemic has highlighted the cracks in our healthcare systems. The Ontario Greens are providing new solutions to these old problems. And we need more Green MPPs to build the Ontario you want. So let's get to work. We cannot afford to wait. Thank you, merci, and megwich.
Thank you. And there'll be a test later on everything that was just said. So just quickly, I know we're a little bit behind, but just quickly before we move on to our first two speakers, I wanted to, of course, we have the party leaders here, but I wanted to take a minute to recognize my board members, my fellow board members, because I think it's really important that everyone puts a face to the name as well. So, and you're only as good as the people you're surrounded by, and I'm surrounded by some pretty cool people who are pretty smart and who've been doing this work for a very long time. So I'm just going to ask each one of our board members to stand up as I introduce you. Did Mayor, there he is. I was like, There we go. All right, so it is in your package, everyone's names and where they represent from, but I wanted to take a minute, like I said, to introduce everybody so you could see their faces. So of course, I'm the president from the municipality of Shunya. And then I have Executive Vice President is Mayor Fred Moda from the municipality of Red Lake. There he is in the back there. Mayor Kevin Cahoot, Vice President from the District of Kenora, the Township of Ear Falls. Just keep standing, will you guys, for a second, please. I know your legs are cramped from sitting through all those messages. Mayor Deb Ewald, Vice President, District of Rainy River, Town of Rainy River. Mayor Rick Dumas, Vice President, District of Thunder Bay, Town of Marathon. Councillor Brian McKinnon, Vice President, is with City of Thunder Bay. He's not here today. Andrea, of course, our Executive Director, our board members, Mayor Dan Raynard, Municipality of Kenora, Mayor Gord Griffiths, Municipality of Mayshon, Mark Vermette, CAO, Municipality of Red Lake, Councillor Doug Hartnell, Township of Dawson, Councillor Wendy Bernetta, Township of Fort Francis, sorry, Town of Fort Francis. You got to get these things right, folks, you know. Jason Young, CAO, Township of Atikokan, Mayor Jim Vesna, Township of O'Connor, Mayor Jody Davis, Township of Terrace Bay, Mark Figliomini, CAO, Municipality of Red Rock, City of Thunder Bay, Councillor Kristen Oliver, and Norm Gale, City Manager. So if you could just give these folks a round of applause, because I have to tell you that they've been working many years, a lot of years, and they work really hard together as our NOMA board to advocate for Northwestern Ontario. Thank you all. So I'd like to now call upon another great partner of NOMA, our AMO President, Jamie McGarvey, and Brian Rosborough, our Executive Director of AMO, for which NOMA works very closely with. Mayor Jamie McGarvey is the mayor of Parry Sound. He has a long history of public service. He has served as a mayor for the past 12 years, previously served on local councils for 37 years. Jamie has gone above and beyond these official roles to serve on numerous boards, commissions, and committees. Locally, he has served groups related to social services, nonprofit housing, land ambulance, policing, economic development. He brings firsthand knowledge of important public services to the provincial associations as well. Jamie has also been on the AMO board since 2011 as a member of the Small Urban Caucus and previously served as president from 2018 to 2020. He is also the chair of the AMO Housing Task Force and serves on our Indigenous Task Force. Brian Rosborough was appointed Executive Director of the Associations of Municipalities in September 2019. Prior to joining AMO in 2018, as Director of AMO's Membership Center, Brian was a Senior Executive Officer of the Brantford campus of the Wilfrid Laurier University and was previously the university's Director of Government Relations from 2009 to 2013. Brian has been working in the public sector in Ontario for 30 years, including as AMO's Director of Policy from 2004 until 2009. As a public servant in the Government of Ontario, Brian's worked with as a policy advisor and senior manager in the years of social and environmental policy. Brian also spent policy and communications consultant for a number of government clients. Please welcome Jamie and Brian, who've traveled to be here with us today.
Good afternoon. Annie Bozu and bonjour. Wendy, thank you for the warm welcome. It's a pleasure to address this conference as AMO president. I'm not representing any political party after what you've just been through. Just you. As you know, Bracebridge Mayor Graydon Smith stepped down to run in June's provincial election. Under AMO's bylaws, the past president is asked to serve in the role of president until the new president is elected at our annual conference in August. And I am really pleased to do this because I believe that AMO's work is vitally important. I believe that AMO can and has made an important difference for more than a century. And I accept that we have a responsibility to earn your confidence in AMO every day. More than anything else, that's why we're here. I traveled from Parry Sound and I'm joined by AMO's executive director, as was mentioned, Brian Rosborough. The distance that we have traveled to be here is well understood by all of you, and we believe it's important that it be understood by policymakers in Queen's Park. Saying that, we will have good public policy for all Ontarians is one thing. Delivering on that is more difficult for policymakers who have never been to Fort Francis, Kenora, Dryden, Red Lake, or Pickle Lake. So it's extremely important that Northwestern Ontario is well represented within AMO's board, and you are. I want to thank Mayor Landry, Chair of AMO's Northern Caucus, and her colleagues, Mayor Rick Dumas from Marathon and Mayor Fred Moda from Red Lake. Northwestern Ontario's commitment to AMO makes us stronger in all the work we do. It strengthens our ability to provide all municipalities with helpful and powerful support, and it helps to ensure that we can meet our particular needs. And we've all been working hard. The pandemic has been hard on everyone. We've had to deal with more than just many health and economic and social challenges. Nerves are frayed, people are frustrated, angry, and in some cases directed at you. Fear brings out bad behavior. Some of that emotion, again, directed at you. You have served to the best of your ability in a difficult time, sometimes with little thanks, and I want to thank you. I also want to thank elected representatives and public servants across all three orders of government. In addition to bringing municipal governments together in common cause, AMO works to ensure that municipal governments have strong and effective relationships with our provincial and federal orders of government. Countless connections bind us together in a singular effort to deliver good government and vital public services. I believe we have all worked hard to achieve that through one of the most difficult challenges in Canadian history. And AMO has worked to make it a little easier. Since 2020, AMO has helped secure more than $5 billion in provincial and federal financial assistance for municipalities from the impacts of COVID-19. In 2021, the provincial budget included an additional $2.8 billion for broadband. That increased Ontario's commitment to $4 billion by 2025 to achieve province-wide coverage. Those moments and tomorrow's budget reflect our advocacy. Ontario's municipal governments have a strong imperative to deliver common sense advocacy with clear and a unified voice from AMO, NOMA, and municipal councils in every part of Ontario. But consensus is not always easy to find. Through AMO, communities and associations like NOMA come together to make sure that we do. Through AMO, we come together to find consensus, we work together to articulate it, and we come together to advocate for changes that make all of our communities better. Most of our advocacy relates to municipal-provincial relations, and that relationship has been strong. It's AMO's role to make sure that it is strong. Few times in Canadian history have tested it more than the past 2 years, and we have all benefited from the strength of it. I want to thank Premier Ford and his colleagues, and I especially want to thank Minister Clark in particular. To succeed, our shared relationships need to be frank, respectful, and productive. We have to care about each other, and we have to be committed to mutual success. It's fair and important to say that we have strong support through the legislature. We benefit from the participation of all political parties at this conference on the eve of a provincial election. We are listening to what they have to say, and we are looking for indications that they have been listening to municipal governments. We are looking for signs of shared consensus. In January, AMO's board identified 8 commitments we want the next Ontario government to support over the next 4 years. This 8-point plan is available on AMO's website. First, we want them to make sure that our fiscal framework is stable, sustainable, and affordable. Municipalities provide the public services that people and businesses rely on most. Collectively, we invest more than $50 billion a year into Ontario's economy. Municipalities need to stand on a strong foundation. Next, the Ontario government should acknowledge and support municipal governments as key partners in Ontario's economic recovery and future prosperity. The third commitment relates to climate change. Ontario needs to have a comprehensive and integrated response to its environmental, social, and economic impacts. Number 4 is a commitment to invest in infrastructure and transit. Whether it's social infrastructure like childcare, long-term care, or traditional infrastructure like roads and bridges, investments are needed to ensure that all communities can compete and to ensure that all Ontarios can reach their full potential. The 5th commitment is investment in broadband and connectivity to expand opportunity, access, and economic participation in every part of Ontario. And as you well know, broadband and cell coverage are already essential to the delivery of healthcare, education, commerce, and culture. The 6th commitment is to adequately fund municipally delivered health and human services. In principle, health and human services are a provincial responsibility. In practice, municipal governments and DSABs deliver a cost share broad range of them. Public health and paramedic services are clear examples. Municipal governments contribute about $3 billion a year to health and human services. That's 3 billion municipal dollars that are propping up the provincial treasury. This is unique to Ontario, and we all need to make sure that we do not increase the burden that property taxpayers already bear. And when municipalities provide funding, they should have say in aspects like planning, coordination, and governance. Number 7 is related. There should be a comprehensive and integrated response to mental health and addiction. Long hidden from sight, we now understand the magnitude of mental health and its impacts on individuals, families, employers, and communities. And in some communities, opioids are creating public health challenges that rival COVID-19. We need provincial leadership and cooperation to meet the challenges together. Finally, commitment number 8 calls on the government to work with municipalities on innovative approaches to increase the supply of affordable housing. This is often portrayed as an urban problem, and we know that it's a challenge right across Ontario, including northern communities, especially in northwestern Ontario. When Wendy Landry relays the increased housing costs to policy staff at Queen's Park, you can hear a pin drop. When Canadian press asks us about housing challenges, they already have shocking numbers from the Greater Toronto area, but our AMO staff make sure that they have the shocking information from Brant County, Northumberland County, Simcoe County, Muskoka, as well as Northwestern Ontario. Needless to say, municipal governments across Ontario are keen to do their part. Increasing housing affordability and supply is a complex problem with no simple solution. Ontario's housing market is driven by many factors that affect supply and others that drive demand. The More Homes for Everyone Act looks at one factor on the supply side. Municipal governments want to ensure that local approvals are timely and effective. Legislation that supports this goal can be helpful. That being said, there is very little that municipalities can do about the demand for housing. Speculation, interest rates, provincial approvals, and many other factors are all beyond municipal control. And AMO has been working on these for years. We have consistently called for a long-term comprehensive approach to housing affordability, where all three governments work together, along with partners in private and nonprofit and cooperative housing sectors to find solutions. AMO agrees that the More Homes for Everyone Act needs to be part of a much larger process. Without a doubt, it will be a focus for Queen's Park for years to come. AMO and municipal governments look forward to being actively involved in dynamic long-term work needed to address all aspects of the housing challenges ahead. Together, we must address urgent needs, and we have to do it with solutions that serve us well for decades. Once again, AMO creates opportunities for leaders to come together, to work together, to achieve more for our communities. And NOMA is committed to that same goal. I want to take a moment to talk about our relationship with Indigenous communities. I feel like we are forging new paths together. Many people are leading in many ways, and we have to build these relationships together, and they are complex. And obviously, it's not one relationship, it's many relationships right across Ontario. Municipal leaders have an opportunity to set the tone and be part of the constructive societal change in Indigenous relations that is needed and expected. Different municipalities are at different stages, and without a doubt, municipalities across Ontario are drawing from work that's already been done in Northwestern Ontario. Relationship agreements can be helpful in identifying areas of mutual concern and interest. AMO's Indigenous Task Force created a guide to help create them. Mayor Landry chairs our task force, and I have often heard Wendy's advice: make a friend before you need a friend. That is so important. The task force has also created 2 resource papers to help municipal councils support truth and reconciliation. The first outlines initiatives that municipal councils can take to advance Truth and Reconciliation Commission's calls for action. The second provides ideas and options to better support and engage Indigenous residents and neighbors. These resources are designed to be helpful, and we will continue to update them with strategies and best practices that municipal governments are building in partnership with Indigenous leaders and communities. Before I wrap up, I want to say a few words about the situation in Ukraine. To begin, I want to acknowledge the appalling and unjustifiable invasion of Ukraine and its terrible impact on the country, its people, and all of those affected by the war. We have also witnessed inspiring and remarkable leadership from the national and local governments of Ukraine, its army, and its people. With more than 5 million people displaced, we know that our communities here in Ontario can play a role in resettling families, even if it's only temporarily. I want you to know that AMO staff are engaging with the province and municipal staff from across Ontario to ensure that municipalities and the province will be ready and able to provide supports and to welcome those in need of assistance. There's a lot going on. Far too much to cover in my short time with you today. And I know Brian has additional information to share with you about the work of AMO. So you will continue to hear from AMO through our many policy updates and member communications, through our Watch File newsletter. Please read that. It's really important. And through our steady advocacy on your behalf. I look forward to welcoming you to the AMO conference in August when we deliver our annual AMO conference in person in Ottawa. That's the plan. I'm an optimist, and I hope that I will see you there. Thank you. Merci and miigwech.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Wendy, for the kind introduction, and thank you, Jamie, for your remarks. First, let me say what a pleasure it is to actually be in a meeting with real people and not just online, as I've been pretty much exclusively for the last 2 years. So thank you very much for the invitation to be here. As you know, AMO's offices are in downtown Toronto, and we really have been locked up tight, really, for 2 years. We reopened our offices for the first time on April 4th, and staff are now present on a staggered 2-day-a-week and flexible schedule so that we have coverage, but it's a way of getting people back into the office. And while there are increasing numbers of people in the downtown core in Toronto, it really is just a shell of its former self. And any of you who attended OGRA will have noticed that if you're in the city. The path system under the bank towers is empty. And many of the stores and cafes remain closed. Some are now boarded up. And so there really is a long-term disruption that remote working is causing in cities and towns and in communities where people work. So COVID really has sped up a disruption that was coming our way even before the pandemic struck. So it's part of modernization, but it's having an impact and it's going to take some adjustment. But COVID really has had an undeniable impact. And I have to say, and I've said this to people in the province frequently, that it really is municipalities that have kept the wheels on this province over the past 2 years. Federal and provincial governments have done a good job of protecting our economy and protecting incomes and businesses, but it's the healthcare system and education system and municipalities that have taken care of the rest. And here in Northwestern Ontario, that includes DSABs and the important work they do to safeguard your communities. And at AMO, we're keenly aware that municipal councils were not elected with pandemic response in mind, but that you rose to the challenge in innovative ways and with a steadfast resolve to protect your communities and your local economies. At AMO, we played a smaller role, but I think we played an important role in supporting our members. We worked with the province and the federal government to ensure that you had additional resources, some $5 billion worth, as Jamie mentioned. And we made sure that the province had information and intelligence it needed to rapidly change the rules that would allow you to get on with the job of serving and protecting your communities. I had the great privilege of being appointed to the role of Executive Director of AMO back in September 2019. And despite the challenges that COVID presented, I'm really grateful to have been in a position where AMO could play an important part in supporting our members through such a remarkably challenging time. Part of my mandate from the AMO board was to continue to modernize the organization. Some of that modernization occurred more rapidly than expected because of COVID, and I think we all had that experience. But I do want to express my appreciation to AMO's board members from the Northwest, led by Wendy Landry as the caucus chair. AMO staff asked the board to take a big chance on us in 2020 and to support our efforts to host a fully virtual AMO conference in 2020, and the board gave us their full support. We honestly did not know if we could make it work, but we knew that we had to try. And we learned a lot in developing and delivering that conference, and we applied some of those lessons again in 2021 when we had a fully virtual conference. And the reviews from our members, from you, tell us that we did a pretty good job of creating something new that filled an important gap. So I'm very excited about our plans to be in Ottawa for the 2022 AMO conference. It promises to be the kind of conference that you expect from AMO, with a real opportunity to bring people together in a way that people want. For 2022, we do appreciate that not everybody is ready for such a gathering or not able or willing to travel to be there in person. And so we know that, Northern Ontario, that time and money is a precious commodity, and it takes a lot of both for you to attend conferences in places like Ottawa and in a different time zone to boot. So recognizing that, we plan to record the highlights of the main stage of our 2022 conference, such things as the Ministers Forum and the leaders' speeches, and to make those available after the fact and free of charge. So in many ways, it means that the AMO conference can be more accessible, including to rural and northern and remote communities, than it has been in the past. You've heard from President McGarvey just a moment ago about the important policy and advocacy work that AMO is doing. I want to touch a little bit more on some of the other things that we're doing. One of the things I want to highlight is AMO's We All Win initiative. It's a set of actions that we're taking to encourage a more diverse slate of candidates for October's municipal elections. It includes a social media campaign to bring voices of municipal trailblazers into the public forum so potential candidates with diverse backgrounds can see themselves in the successes of some of those who have gone before. It includes our Lead Where You Live materials that provide a comprehensive guide to running for municipal council. You'll also see it reflected in all of the work that we do, including our conference, where I think we're making real progress in bringing more diverse voices into the conversation. In 2020, we introduced our Women's Leadership Forum, along with a women's networking session and a youth networking session. And all of those will be features again of the 2022 conference in Ottawa. And we've made important strides with our Indigenous Relations Task Force, chaired by Wendy Landry, as Jamie mentioned, enabling AMO to provide supports to our members who want to make progress on reconciliation and meaningful engagement with Indigenous communities. And it includes a total overhaul of our new councillor and new heads of council training to include a module on diversity, equity, inclusion, and anti-racism. Our new heads of council training will be available in fall, soon after the municipal elections, and our new councillor training will be available early in 2023 as new councils begin to fulfill their mandates. Both programs have been revamped and modernized with new trainers and guest speakers, and will be available exclusively online to ensure that they're accessible to councils everywhere in Ontario. And because we've heard from many of our members that supplemental training midway through the 4-year term would be worthwhile, we're now developing additional training opportunities for the midterm that will enhance learning while building on the experience of new councillors and new heads of council. And speaking of elections, as Jamie mentioned, AMO launched its 2022 provincial election strategy in January. If you want a refresher on that, it's on the front page of our website and was also highlighted in a recent AMO On Topic podcast. As Jamie mentioned, the AMO strategy sets out 8 broad commitments that we believe every party should be able to sign on to. And some of those commitments were expressed in the leaders' speeches earlier today. I won't try to catalog them all for you at the moment. That strategy creates what we hope will be an accountability framework for the Government of Ontario for the next 4 years. It covers many of the big questions of our time, including climate change, broadband and connectivity, mental health and addictions, affordable housing, infrastructure and social infrastructure investment, economic recovery, adequate funding for provincial health and social services delivered by municipalities and DSABs, and a stable provincial municipal fiscal arrangements, which means no downloading. So please feel free to use it in your discussions with candidates for the June 2nd election and in any other way that you find to be helpful. We will be tracking those platform commitments to see how they match up to municipal priorities. And that material will be published on our website and communicated weekly to AMO members throughout the election period. I want to conclude my remarks by thanking you for your support for AMO. We simply could not do what we do without your support. I also want to express my thanks to Jamie McGarvey for agreeing to step back into the role of AMO president in the middle of his term as AMO past president. Every 4 years, provincial and municipal elections have an impact on the composition of the AMO board. That's what it means to support our democratic processes. And that's what it means for an organization that cherishes and protects its nonpartisan reputation. AMO has been around for well over a century, and we work with whatever provincial government the good people elect. Nonpartisanship and a board structure that builds on consensus are important keys to that success. Through the work of our caucuses, our board takes positions that reflects the interests of all municipalities, not just the biggest and not just the smallest, but everyone from every part of Ontario. It's a structure that works well and promotes unity in Ontario's $50 billion municipal sector. And AMO's partnership with NOMA strengthens that unity and makes AMO a better and stronger organization. So I'll conclude with that, and thank you again for the invitation.
Thank you, President McGarvey, and thank you, Brian. Appreciate that. You know, the We All Win campaign I got to participate in is a really great campaign, and encourage everyone to retweet it, or whenever you see it, it's happening. You know, I'm the first First Nations woman to be elected as a mayor in the province of Ontario. Then the following year, we have Cheryl Fort, who was elected. We have Councillor Gaston in Hearst, Gaetan, excuse, in Hearst, and I believe we have some members of the Métis Nation and other on some of the other councils as well. So some progress happening there. So thank you. So it's my pleasure now to welcome our keynote speaker today, Stan Wesley. For over 30 years, has engaged and entertained audiences. Where is he? Oh, there he is. Entertained audiences with his unique style. Working at a local, regional, and provincial, national levels. He speaks on a variety of issues with focus on celebrating successes and advancing good, healthy relations among Indigenous and non-Indigenous people. Today, he'll speak to us on truth and reconciliation. Stan is from Moose Factory, Ontario. He now lives in Six Nations territory with his wife and his 2 daughters. And we're very happy to have him back with us. The last time he was here with us was in 2014. Please welcome Stan Wesley.
Checking 1, 2. Good afternoon, everybody. Stan Wesley in Dishinakasian, Moose Factory in Duchi. I'm really honored to be here, and I have some friends here in the room. Just a few weeks ago, I was in incredible Thunder Bay, and we repatriated a game that the young people haven't played for in hundreds of years. Kudos to Thunder Bay. And I'm a little bit of a runner. I run. I don't know if I'm running from or running to, I'm not exactly sure. But I love running in Sioux Lookout. Just that air coming off the lake and how amazing it feels. In the morning when the sun's coming up, when you can see the oxygen in the air evaporating from the lake and running through it and just feeling the energy, the beauty, the moisture going through my body. I went running one time in Hearst. And man, I went running through town on the path. I was running through the path and I came back. On the way back, there was this guy, a big blue truck sitting on the path. Shouldn't have been on the path, but he was on the path. I ran up to him, I should say. He stopped me. His name is Jean. You're probably wondering, who's Jean? Who's Jean? Maybe your cousin. You never know. Jean says this: I was waiting for you to come back. I didn't know Jean. First time meeting Jean. But he says, I was waiting for you to come back. there's a bear that was over here. If you see it just over here on the other side of the tree line, he said, you'll see a bear coming. I said, oh yeah, there's a bear right there. He said, I saw you running by, so I pulled off onto the trail to make sure the bear wasn't going to get you. I told him, Jean, do you have a place to go? He says, oh yeah, I own my own business. I do have a place to go. But that particular day, what did Jean want to do? His business was protect people, to make sure people were okay. And that's just one story of an outstanding citizen who cares for people. And every municipality and every person that is here has a story of a Jean in your community who goes out of his or her way or their way to protect people. What I'd like you to do is like you to pick up your pen. I want you to find a blank piece of paper somewhere in your program. I want you to write down a hero within your community. Somebody who puts maybe other people ahead of them. Somebody who cares deeply for others. Could be a Francis Wesley in Thunder Bay. Could be a Jim Morris in Sioux Lookout. Are you ready? Did you write down the name of that person? Think about it. That's better. I thought it was storming there for a second outside. I'm like, holy, that's a lot of rain coming down. Yeah, I know, yeah. I was like, there's a lot of wind blowing, but like just different kind of wind up here. Are you ready? Are you set? On a count of 3, you're going to hold up their name. You're going to hold up their name, and then you're going to not only say their name, you're going to yell out their name for people to hear. Because as we gather here, thriving, we need to acknowledge the fact that people are thriving in these challenging times. And there's different elements of how people are thriving through your amazing work. Many of you are volunteers and through caring citizens who love people so much. So we're going to recognize these wonderful, beautiful people right now. Just yell out their name. Get the paper ready? Are you set? Hold the paper up in the air, please. Come on, I'm not seeing the papers. Let's go. And on the count of 3, you're going to yell out their name nice and loud. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. One more time. 1, 2, 3. There are heroes everywhere. Yeah, I have a fly that landed and probably is stuck on my jelly hair right now. You guys hear that? Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sing a little song. And then you're going to help me. But first, I need to set the tone a little bit because I can see you're a little cold. And usually when you're cold, there's a couple things, couple elements at play. One thing is that it's physically cold in here, right? And number 2, we're sitting still. So we need to get up and move a little bit. We sit still too often. And one thing that I understand about the human body is that the sitting position isn't really healthy for your body. So over the course of the next couple of days, you're going to be sitting lots. But right now, we're going to get up and do something. It'll just take a second. And the song goes something like this. Hey, oh, hey, Ohio. Hey, oh, hey, Ohio. Hey, oh, hey. Hey, oh, hey. Hey, oh, hey. Hey, oh, hey. Hey, oh, hey, Ohio. That's how it goes. When I go like this, Hey, oh, hey. You're going to clap high twice. Can we try that? 3, 2, 1. Hey, oh, hey. Oh my God. Are we ready? Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hey, oh, hey. Perfect. When I go like this, hey, oh, hey, you're going to clap low twice. 3, 2, 1. Hey, oh, hey. 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 Then when I do this, hey, oh, hey, Ohio, you're going to turn around. So how we're going to do this to get some juices flowing is I'm going to get you to stand up. Please, thank you. Knee boo, Miss Wick, knee boo. The song's going to start off slow, and it's going to get gradually faster. So you're going to feel some warmth after the activity. And all you're doing is waiting to clap high and clap low and turn around, right? You're not clapping throughout the whole thing. Here we go. Hey-oh, hey-oh, hi-oh. I'm not yet. I didn't do this. Hey-oh, hey-oh, hi-oh. Hey-oh, hey. Hey-oh, hey. Hey-oh, hey. Hey-oh, hey. Hey-oh, hey, Ohio. Hey-oh, hey, Ohio. Hey-oh, hey, Ohio. Hey-oh, hey. Hey-oh, hey. Hey-oh, hey. Hey-oh, hey. Hey-oh, hey, Ohio. Feeling it? Hey-oh, hey, Ohio. Hey-oh, hey, Ohio. Hey-oh, hey. Hey-oh, hey. Hey-oh, hey. Hey-oh, hey. Hey-oh, hey, Ohio. I keep telling myself I should do this last because I get out of breath. Hey, oh, hey, Ohio, hey, oh, hey, Ohio, hey, oh, hey, hey, oh, hey, hey, oh, hey, hey, oh, hey, Ohio. Hey, oh, hey, Ohio, hey, oh, hey, Ohio, hey, oh, hey, hey, oh, hey, hey, oh, hey, Ohio. One more time. Hey, oh, hey, Ohio, hey, oh, hey, hey, oh, hey, hey, Ohio. Excellent. Grab a seat, everybody. Oh, intertribal. Everybody dance. So my name's Stan. Born and raised in Moose Factory, which is on the south shore of James Bay. Currently living in Six Nations territory. I got a beautiful wife. I'm completely out of my league and I love it. I have 2 daughters, a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old. And today, I'm going to spend a few minutes giving a little different take on truth and reconciliation. Just a different take. I'm going to say things I've never said before because it's important. I'm going to say something about me that just happened. I'm going to say something about my family because it's important to say here. And I usually talk about personal stuff every time I speak. But now I'm speaking about something fresh because it matters. And because you matter. And if it's one thing about me and one thing about you and your kids and great grandkids, is stories matter the most. At the end of the day, all we want to hear are stories. At the beginning of the day, we are waiting for things to happen so we can tell those stories. We've been hearing lots about Treaty 3, about Treaty 9, about Superior and Treaty, Superior, Robinson Superior Treaty, beautiful. My great-grandfather signed a treaty back in 1905. In 1912, he gave birth to a beautiful, beautiful little girl. He named her Madeline on the banks of the Albany River in the bush. I was on the banks of the Albany River one year, and something compelled me to reach into the water. So I reached into the water. And as the water trickled down my arm, pooled right here in my elbow, and dripped back into the water, I can see something in my peripheral vision. Then I looked, and it was gone. So I thought, I'm going to try this again. It was gone. Try this again. But this time, I'm going to keep looking that way. Focusing over here, right? It was a canoe. It was a canoe. Two people sitting up front. One person in the front, one person in the back. Little girl sitting in the middle. And now was my great grandfather and great grandmother sitting in that canoe. And sitting in the middle of that canoe was my grandmother. She came to visit me. She came to say hi. 30 years later, in 1942, she gave birth to a beautiful daughter, my auntie. Her name is Edna, born in 1942 on the land. Edna passed away on Friday. The funeral was at noon, Eastern Standard Time today. I was with my family 2 days ago. Then I said, there's work to be done. I have to go. Got to say something. Got to say something about Auntie Edna. So today I'm going to speak about Auntie Edna. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. Why Edna matters. Why your Edna matters. There's Ednas all over the place. There's Ednas that have passed away. Some a long time ago. Some very recently. There's a lot of Ednas still around today. And there's Ednas that are yet to be born. You see, my Auntie Edna, born in the bush, is a product of the environment around her. There's stories that my auntie told me just a couple days ago, sitting around the table looking at photo albums, where Edna would be sitting on a beautiful toboggan made by my late grandfather. And then my Auntie Josephine, 6 years her senior, 11 years old, she'd be holding on to the first dog in the dog team. And she'd be walking at 11 years old with dogs in tow, 10 kilometers in the middle of winter from Shago Cow, which is out on James Bay, to Moose Factory. Little Edna sitting with a brand new moose hide mitts in a toboggan made by my grandfather. Edna gave birth to 4 children. Edna got married to an incredible member of our family, Uncle Wilbert, who's still around today, who's grieving, I'm sure. Some of you can relate. To many kids, many grandkids, and so many incredible memories. At the end of her day, which was just on Friday, the stories began to pour. People would reminisce about Auntie Edna, wanting to hear the story of Auntie Edna and wanting to share in the time that they spent with her. And not just photos, but memories and stories, good stuff, good advice that she gave people. Such a beautiful time in a difficult time. Auntie Edna, my Auntie Edna. And we know Auntie Ednas everywhere we go. And that's the truth that I want to talk about. The first little section of my presentation is Auntie Edna. We all have an Auntie Edna in our lives. We all have stories of an Auntie Edna that passed away. The truth is, and when we think about truth and reconciliation, we think about Indigenous stuff and non-Indigenous stuff and relationships, and I get it. Yes. But one thing that brings us together, you and I, first time meeting you, but one thing that we share is that we love people. And when it comes down to relationships and people like Auntie Edna, that's our common thread, is Edna and the Ednas in our life. Family, friends, beautiful stories. Auntie Edna. I want you to write down a piece of paper. Get out a second piece of paper, please. Get out a second piece of paper. Come on, really quick. Come on. Just the back of a paper. Here we go. Perfect. I want you to write down on the back of your paper an Auntie Edna in your life. Could be somebody who passed away. Could be somebody who's still alive today. But somebody with family, somebody with purpose, somebody with gifts. They are everywhere. I want you to think of an Auntie Edna. I want you to write down this person's name. Think about it just for a second. The common truth that we have is that we're not so far away of being brothers. We're not so far away of becoming sisters. We're not so far away becoming family, because family brings us together. Who's your Auntie Edna? What I want you to do on a count of three, I want you to proudly, with love, with loudness, with a little gut, I want you to yell out and celebrate these Auntie Ednas that are surrounding us all the time. Are we ready? Let's do it. 3, 2, 1. Louder. 3, 2, 1. What makes Auntie Edna a little different to your Auntie Edna is that Auntie Edna was born on the land. And I get the fact that your Auntie Edna might have been too. But Auntie Edna was indigenous to land, and that her indigeneity has been there since the beginning of time. There's a beautiful, beautiful section of our culture that says we didn't come from anywhere except from the clouds. Because our truth as indigenous people, as Inunuak, as Cree people from the coast of James Bay, is that we came from the clouds. That's where we came from. And Ehip the spider lowered us down onto the ground. So we've always been there. So the reconciliation part to what I'm talking about today is something that's not new to this organization. Because when I was here back in 2014, I was using these little PowerPoint machines. Remember that? I was doing PowerPoint and I was talking about relationships and treaty. That's what I was talking about. I love to hear your leadership talk about reconciliation and action plans and committees and all this cool stuff about relationships between Indigenous and non-Indigenous that makes me so happy. But the reconciliation piece that I want to talk about right now is I'm going to put a little bit of heat on you. Just a little bit of heat. And I'm going to challenge you just a little bit, which I think is what good speakers do. They challenge us just a bit. I want to say a little bit of my pet peeve. And I will be honest, land acknowledgements is my pet peeve. The reason why they're my pet peeve is because we talk a good game. We acknowledge land. We acknowledge ancestry. We acknowledge nations. But sometimes we don't do enough. And if we don't do enough about land acknowledgements, people will sit and they'll become upset. They're acknowledging land, but they're not doing enough to back up those beautiful words. Then it turns out to be a bike acknowledgement. If somebody steals my bike, and then every time they ride my bike, they say, I want to acknowledge that this bike is Stan Wesley's bike. This bike is his. So when I ride it in honor of him and his people, but I acknowledge that this is his. And all I'm thinking to myself, if that was the case, I'd be sitting there thinking, that's my bike. There's something wrong with this. This bike belongs to me. This bike is mine. Your land acknowledgements, I love most of them. They say the right words. They say the right things. But when it comes down to true reconciliation, are the actions that people desperately want to see, not just want to hear. So what do I mean by that? First of all, no one's going home. No one's going back. No one has to give up anything. That's not what I'm saying. Absolutely, 100%. Do not think that. Absolutely not. But relationships is the #1 key to reconciliation. One thing that I love, Constance Lake. When I was in Constance Lake, I was there in Chief Arts Prime. The mayor and the chief would be talking sometimes on a daily basis. I love that. That's reconciliation. That's the kind of stuff that I want to see. The kind of stuff that I want to see is, for example, if there's a powwow in the community next to you, you can contact the committee on behalf of town and saying, what can we do to sponsor something at the powwow? Can we sponsor a feast at your powwow? Maybe your community can host Treaty Days 2023. In the summer of 2023, your community, your municipality can host a Treaty Day event where the celebrations come off the community into your municipality. Why? Because we're all treaty people. Everybody here is treaty people. We need to celebrate the true intent of that treaty. Your communities has an incredible story to tell. Your community is beautiful. Your community is sacred. Your community has sacred sites within your community. It's so beautiful how sacred your lands are. As a part of your reconciliation plan, you could invite community elders in to tell stories of that lake, to tell stories of that river, to tell stories of that park. You could have a language speaker coming in, and you could have language classes once a month, basic Anishinaabe language, basic Ojibwe language, a very unique language, man. There are so many things that we can do to reconcile. And all it takes is a relationship. My good friend Carrie Chiapetta, she's talking about playing nice in the sandbox tomorrow at 4:15. Super pumped about that one. You put children in the sandbox, they eventually begin to play with each other. There is no doubt about it. It's not going to happen right away, but they'll eventually begin to play. They'll eventually begin to share. The best examples of reconciliation that I see between municipalities and First Nation communities is playing nice in the sandbox. If there's a tragedy in the community, call the chief and say, what can we do? How can we help? If there's a celebration in the community, you can say, Chief, we'd love to be a part of this because what happens there matters to us. If you're hosting an event with your council, you can contact the chief, the council, and you can say, you know what? We would like to host our event in your facility on the res because your economic development matters because they give so much in your community. Sharing the resources that we have, and not just the financial resources, but the human resources. When I go to bed at night with my daughters want to hear stories. They want to hear stories of my childhood. They want to hear stories of their childhood in the future. They want to hear stories of not just what happened yesterday, not just what happened today, but what's going to happen sometime in the future. They want to hear a vision of the future. So what's your vision of the future when it comes down to relationships? What's your vision of the future to what comes down to reconciliation? What kind of things do you hear in that vision? What kind of things do you see in your vision of reconciliation? What kind of things do you feel and others will feel in your vision of reconciliation? Those are big things. But I want you to begin thinking of the awesomeness that's going to happen in your future of reconciliation. The truth is we're so relatable, you and I, because it's all about Auntie Edna and your Auntie Ednas. And everybody really, really wants to, just at the end of the day, be friends and have tea and visit and tell stories and hear what you're going to do and challenge others. Then what are you going to do? Let's do something together. Let's build a relationship together. What can we do? Let's do something. And it's not just an awkward challenge. It's celebrating something for the future. We've been ignoring each other for so long, right? We're just starting the process of reconciliation, aren't we? And when we start something, and when we have a conversation, it feels so good, doesn't it? We drive home, we're excited. Man, it's the first time talking to that chief. It's the first time talking to that elder. I didn't know that story. And it feels so good to be in that situation where all we do is sit and talk and tell stories and share. Don't forget, the number one thing that matters is the story. There's so much gold and treasure in your community. The Jeans, the Francises, my Auntie Frances, Uncle Jim, and Sue Lookout. All the people that you mentioned. There's treasure everywhere. So when I think about treasure, I think about the ones that aren't identified yet. The ones in the Métis Nation that are just waiting to be discovered, the shining pieces of gold. You can't put an amount of how valuable that treasure is in the people that you see walking by, many of whom are underprivileged, many of whom have drug and alcohol issues. And our heart hurts when we see them. But they're treasure too. They have a story to tell. They have contributions to make. The ones coming from Ukraine, there's treasure there. There's treasure everywhere. Let's untap that treasure. Let's untap that treasure for the Auntie Ednas, the ones who passed. Let's untap that treasure for the Auntie Ednas that exist right now with us, many of which are here in this room that love people so much. And let's untap that treasure for the Auntie Ednas that are yet to be born. And the only way we can do that is just playing nice in a sandbox, wanting a conversation. Let's go for coffee. I'm coming to the community. What can I bring? We're having a feast. We'd like to invite you to our community. I'm having a barbecue. Will you come to my house? For what reason? Just so we can talk and eat. And we can share. There's something called running as one. And the last thing I want to do here this afternoon is I want to run as one. And as we run as one through that curtain, you're going to hear things come running out of that curtain. Check this out. And then you're going to hear things go running back under that curtain. We are going to run as one. All of us together. And when we run as one together, there's protection in running with people. When there's one goose flying, that goose is good as boom. So we're geese people. We hunt geese. But if there's 300 geese coming, there's protection in that flock. When the great buffalo run across the plain, if there's 1,000 buffalo, the predators don't know which one to get because they're overwhelmed with numbers. There is protection in running with other people. When you run alone, you're vulnerable to bears. But if there's a Jean there to protect you, you're good. But sometimes there's no Jean there. And you're vulnerable. So we are going to run as one, as an illustration and a demonstration of how beautiful it feels to run with other people. And all you got to do is sit at your table. And we're going to do this together right now. Here we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. Bang on your table. That's how you run. Okay? Get ready? You'll all be within my arm. I'm going to say things louder. You're going to feel the energy that runs in this room. My friends, want to say miigwech. I want all of you to repeat after me. Miigwech. Miigwech miswe. Miigwech miswe. When you say miswe, you're acknowledging everybody in the room, regardless of your culture, regardless of your creed, regardless how you connect with the Creator. When you begin to acknowledge people as miswe, you are telling people that they belong within the sacred circle. All we got to do is assert our place. That's all we need to do. Miswe! 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 Want you to repeat after me. Miswe! My love and kindness. My love and kindness is going to help my people thrive within my community. My love and kindness is going to help people thrive within my community. Louder. Come on, let's go. Let's mean it. My love and kindness is going to help others thrive within my community. You bet. Ganaskamitin. My friends, that's all I have to say for now. Thank you very much.
When he sings that, it reminds me of my dad. He always says, "Hey, how are ya?" All right, so we got a 15-minute break and then we'll come back to do some NOMA AGM business. So this is your chance to mingle. And I think we have some of our sponsors and exhibitors upstairs too. Folks, your 2-minute warning. Those of you that are trying to escape to get away from the AGM. Okay, can I get everybody to take your seats, please? I'm gonna yell like Stan Wesley. No. The longer you take, the longer it is till the bar opens. Okay. So I'll just say, Madam President, we have a question. Sure. Sounds good. Okay. Okay, before we get started, folks, I just wanted to take a minute. We have a guest in the audience today who has traveled a long way to be with us to learn about the Northwest. So I just wanted to take a minute to introduce to you my friend Colin Best. He's a counselor at the region of Halton in the town of Milton, and he's one of our colleagues on AMO. He's an AMO board member. So Colin, if you want to take a minute, he's traveled all the way from Milton to Fort Francis to be with us.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you for the invitation to attend. And thank you for everybody participating. I know how much is involved in a conference like this, and I'm here to learn and to speak to you because I've already learned a few challenges, especially trying to find a schedule that matches aircraft, because it is a huge challenge just getting around this area. And I look forward to speaking with you over the next few days, and good luck.
Thanks, Colin. So as President McGarvey mentioned, and Brian, there is an AMO election this year, and Councillor Colin has put his name forward to run for AMO president. So we appreciate you coming up this way to learn more about us. Thanks, Colin. If I can get my vice president up here. Thank you, Your Worship. Folks at the back, we're going to start with business. So welcome to the 76th Annual General Meeting. I'm calling the 76th Annual General Meeting to order at 4:55 p.m. Number 2 on the agenda, you'll find the agenda in your package if you open it up to page. I just had it open. What? Somebody yell it to me. Where is it? 25? 15. Bingo. Okay, there we go. So you'll find it in your agenda package. So first up on the agenda is the minutes and proceedings of the 74th and 75th AGM and conference, pages 17 and 18. The motion reads that the minutes of the 74th, 75th annual general meeting be approved as presented. Can I please get a mover and a seconder? When you move and second, can you please state your name and your municipality? Don Smith, Shunya, Kristen Oliver, City of Thunder Bay. Are there any errors or omissions? Any opposed? Carried. Thank you. Number 3 is the approval of the receive the president's report, which you'll find on page 19. I'll give you a minute to read that if you haven't done that yet. Holy, all of a sudden it got quiet in here. That's what you meant, Wendy, when you said shut off the heat. Can I please get a mover and a seconder to accept the president's report? Wendy Bernetta, Deb. Where's Andrea? Is she around? Okay. Are there any opposed? Carried. Thank you. Now I'll invite Vice President Fred Moda to speak to our audited financial statements.
I'll come down to Wendy's level here. Thank you. Distributed separately are the audited financial statements completed by Grant Thornton. There are copies at every table or within your booklets for you to review. The NOMA account is healthy. Our investments continue to grow in our reserve fund. NOMA loaned $10,000 to Common Voice Northwest to support their intern agreement, and that is an outstanding cost which was absorbed. You may note in the financial statements that there is a difference in funding over the past year. We were successful in reestablishing provincial funding that we did not receive in 2019 and 2020. We also made a number of capital investments this year to accommodate hybrid meetings, including the OWL 360 camera, a projector, and a new laptop. Overall, NOMA is in a stable position. So I need a motion here that the auditor's report and the statements for the year ended December 31st, 2021 be accepted. I need a mover and a seconder, please. Mark Fermet. And Doug. Any opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. So the next motion is for the, sorry, this always helps. The firm of the motion is that we appoint the firm of Grant Thornton LLP to be appointed as auditors for 2023. Can I please get a mover and a seconder? Rick Dumas. Seconder. Cord. Any opposed? Thank you. Item number 6, budget and apportionment. Motion reads that the 2022 estimates totaling $163,246.09 be approved. Can I please get a mover and a seconder? Jason? Bye, Stan. Thank you. Safe travels. Pardon me? Yeah, Mark Figliomini. Any questions? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. Number 7, business transacted in 2021 and 2022. So the motion reads, be it resolved that all the business transacted and resolutions passed by the directors of the association since the last annual meeting of the members be and the same are hereby confirmed, ratified, approved, and sanctioned. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Sorry, what's your name, sweet? I'm sorry, I can't hear you. And a seconder? Bernie? Is there any questions? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Moving now to new business. Yeah. And then you're on after that. Okay, so I'm going to do the presentation on this right now. Okay. Okay, so we are going to, I'm going to present to you our strategic plan that we've just recently done. So I'm proud to share with you today NOMA's first ever strategic plan. It's a 5-year plan, one that we took a lot of care in building. The board feels that notwithstanding past successes, it needs to set some priorities. It also wants to be forward thinking and forward acting. So why build a NOMA strategic plan? The board wanted to set out, 1, a plan to help make a difference for the Northwest, a plan that respects our resources, time, and our money, a plan that is collaborative, that fosters new relationships and strengthens in existing ones. We had input from council members, senior administrators from all of our municipal governments, except for 3 that didn't respond. That is a response level that we are very, very proud of. Your input was very valuable to our discussions. I'm confident that members will see themselves in the activities of the plan somehow, somewhere. So a good number of municipal governments in the Northwest have their own strategic plans, seeing value in outlining their vision, their mission, and activities. NOMA's strategic plan does this as well. Our vision is to amplify the collective voice of Northwestern Ontario as a superior place to work, play, raise families in caring and prosperous communities. This is an aspirational goal. This is our goal. Our mission, NOMA will advance the needs of municipal governments whose services contribute greatly to the community well-being in Northwestern Ontario. This is what motivates us, and this is how we operate. If you have a question during this presentation, then just stand up. So NOMA has core values. We have 6 core values. So we have used these 6 core values over the years, that we're nonpartisan and objective. We are nonpartisan and objective in how it presents itself and undertakes its work. NOMA builds trusting relationships by acting with honesty and integrity. NOMA builds credible solutions for matters broadly shared by Northwestern Ontario. We communicate appropriately and timely. NOMA values diversity, and NOMA attaches importance to partnership and teamwork. We'll continue to be guided by these values in our work, in our relationships and partnerships, and within the board itself. I appreciate each board member's commitment to the association and to all of these values. I believe that these values have helped us solidify our reputation, our good standing with others, and their trust. So what is the plan? The strategic plan maps out 4 buckets of activity. Activities that can bolster progress in Ontario's Northwest region, policy and program development and advocacy on broad key interests, supporting municipal government with information, enhancing NOMA's administration in support of this plan and its members, and let's us look at the activities with all of these 4 areas. So number 1, initiatives to bolster the Northwest. Investigate interest in preparing a pan-Northwest economic plan geared to retaining economic activities and support new opportunities. Each of these 5 initiatives are geared towards bolstering the Northwest. They are linked. In fact, there's a linkage across the entire strategic plan. We recognize that a pan-Northwest economic plan could be an important vehicle to comprehensively address the need to retain our economic activities, a clear priority for us. It can also look at what is needed to support new economic activities and opportunities. There are many sectors across the Northwest that can contribute to such a plan: resources, manufacturing, tourism, health, education, and more. The lack of housing supply in our communities is a barrier to attracting new employers, employees, and offering right sizing for existing residents. The housing supply is important here as elsewhere, including across the country. All orders of government are talking housing and exploring solutions. We are a part of that discussion. The AMO family is also a key player, and we are at that table. We know the importance of broadband and the urgency to get it into our communities, and we promise that the Northwest will not be left behind. We will not stand for that. Many of you recognize the significance of Indigenous relationships and want more help. Knowledge is a cornerstone to trust. Trust is a path to reconciliation. We will help you with the knowledge piece. At the core, we are all neighbors. We want the federal and provincial governments to fully understand what the Northwest offers and how it aligns with our respective goals. Policy and program development. The fiscal condition of our municipal governments has been an ongoing concern. Now inflation is eroding our capacity. We want to take the asset management plans that are due this year and along with the financial information returns and really define the Northwest problem and ways to deal with the fiscal capacity and the gaps. In line with this, there may be actions that could help reduce costs. We will investigate if a common facility design or a construction approach, rather than everyone doing their own, might be of some help. For example, we heard that a good number of fire halls need replacing. We have a strong commitment to the work of the Northern Transportation Group. The pandemic shone a light on our supply chains and access to services and the important role of that the transportation corridors play. There are a number of issues that we share with the rest of Ontario. Insurance costs, emergency services are but only 2. That is why NOMA is at the table and why we have voices in the Northwest involved in AMO's policy work. And it makes sense and reduces duplication. NOMA will amplify this work as it strengthens the municipal voice and improves the likelihood of outcomes. Number 3, to facilitate the transfer of information to support municipal governance. The transference of practices is part of the municipal DNA. This slide gives you a sense of what we heard from our membership surveys in the priority areas. Staff succession planning is an area of significant interest. It makes sense given it is a job seeker market and the demographics. So let's face it, one of the most assured things in life is that we age year after year. That, along with other assuredness of death and taxes. Many of you want to find ways to involve youth in government. They are part of our communities, of course, and perhaps our future leaders. How to do this is a common question. How do we mitigate and adapt for climate, fires, floods, droughts, and more are ever increasing events and costly ones to that in terms of life and property? NOMA will mine and post information on these various topics, information that you can pull when you're ready. We are also going to test run a few focused virtual learning sessions, and our first one is coming up May 25th. We will continue to report to you on NOMA's meetings and the progress of the strategic plan activities, and don't be surprised if we tap you on the shoulder for a little bit of help. So just some topics like the inventory of municipal modernization projects, governance practices. Okay, my glasses work for paper, but not for the prompter. Governance practices such as youth engagement, diversity and succession planning, information on climate change, adaptation, mitigation approaches, undertake council remuneration surveys prior to election 2026, amplify existing programs, services, check new procurement and LAS to save municipalities money and procurement time, host several virtual learning sessions on topical matters, and report out on our meetings and our progress. Enhance NOMA's administration. The last bucket of activities relates to NOMA itself. We discussed how we might work better and smarter in order to succeed. We believe there is a mutual benefit model to tapping into our post-secondary educational institutes. We get some assistance on some of our strategic plan activities. Students offer their skills and knowledge and gain real-world experience, plus being exposed to municipal government. These activities might help students see municipal governments as a career path, and particularly in the Northwest. We will look into different approaches to planning this conference. It takes an incredible amount of time sustained over months. What you see is the iceberg above the waterline. It's the massive effort underneath the waterline to keep this iceberg upright. So again, I want to thank you, Andrea, our one-person staff, for juggling the conference and priorities, and does so much for us. We promise to keep you informed of the progress we make on this strategic plan. In addition to monitoring it, we will review it annually and adjust it as needed, and the outcomes report will be produced in 2027. So next steps for this year. We will continue amplifying NOMA's interests as part of the provincial election and post-election period. The broader regional fiscal analysis has to weight information from your municipal asset management plans with July provincial election deadline. So with the June provincial election deadline, we are hoping that this work could start a little bit later. Small towns, cities, rural and remote areas across the province all share a housing crisis of one type or another. And our advocacy window is open, and we, along with others, will make the most of it. A Pan-Northwest economic plan has a number of potential partners across different sectors. We will craft an outreach plan to discuss this project with them later this year to seek their involvement. The membership survey gave us a head start in profiling information that we can share around modernization projects that are underway in the Northwest. And it will profile municipal government's efforts to make efficiencies and improve public access to services. This is the value of the provincial investment. We are already working with post-secondary institutions on how they can help us do some of this plan's activities. A full copy of the strategic plan is on our website. Watch out for our updates on the plan and its various activities. It is very, very ambitious. We work very hard at it, and it is immediate and forward-looking. And in closing, I want to thank the membership for its input to the board's strategic plan process. We have a lot of work to do, folks. And I thank you for your input, support, and encouragement as we work together for Northwestern Ontario. Thank you. Are there any questions with regards to the presentation on the strategic plan? So just, if you get some more time to spend some more time on it, feel free to reach out, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have even over the course of the next couple of days. Yeah. So next, I just want to give you a brief update on the Northern Ontario Transportation Task Force. Just before I get going, can everyone who is on that task force please stand if you're in the room? I know some people have left already, but there's some representation from some of our communities. Okay, Dan's the only one. Okay, there are others. So the Northern Ontario Transportation, you're on there too, aren't you? Okay. Doug Lawrence, right, sorry. The Northern Ontario Transportation Task Force. So Danny Whalen is the chair of Phenom. Him and myself are the co-chairs of the task force. And we've had a couple of meetings. But together, the both of us cover all of the municipalities in the north. So the mandate of the Transportation Task Force is to consider the 60+ recommendations in the Connecting of the North Draft Transportation Plan that some of you might remember that was released in December 2010. The creation of the task force and the suggestion of memberships was also discussed at length prior to the current members being appointed. Minister Mulroney wanted to ensure that a complete cross-section of representation from Northern Ontario transportation sectors were considered. So we have a lot of, so not only Danny and I from Phenom and NOMA representing municipalities, we have like Mayor Dan and others that are on the task force, as well as representation from the transportation sector, licensing. We have the Indigenous communities represented as well. So there's a number of people on there. We've had a couple meetings so far. We listed our priorities. We had each individual speak to what their priorities and concerns were. We have meetings scheduled for the remainder of the year. Those that are on the task force have really spoken to the concerns of the Transportation Task Force. But the mandate we have to remember of that task force is to bring the recommendations forward on the Connecting the North. So obviously there's, especially from the Northwest, there's a lot of concern with safety on our highways. So that was a big part of our discussions of our first couple of meetings. And it's a huge task. Safety incorporates many different things from, maintenance, road maintenance, snow clearing, to our rest stops, to our licensing of the transport drivers, so many different things and so many different topics to talk about that it's going to be very challenging work. But our mandate is to visit those 60+ recommendations. So I encourage you to take a look at the 2010 draft plan, transportation plan that was presented. Take a look at it. If you have something that you think could be missing or a gap or something that offered, or you want to just tap my brain, feel free to send me something or give me a call, and we'll make sure that it's included if it hasn't already been itemized or identified in the work of the task force. So I just wanted to bring you an update on that. 8.3 is an addition to the agenda. I apologize, I should have mentioned that. And we have an 8.42. So under 8.3, the NOMA board has decided that we will be removing associate membership from the Constitution, and it will no longer be accepting new associate members. So those who currently hold an associate membership will be honored for the remainder of the year until December 31st, 2022. 8.4, NOMA will host our first ever learning morning, like I mentioned, on May 25th from 9:30 to 1:30. Everyone registered for the conference and all NOMA members will be invited to join virtually for free of charge. And we have confirmed presentations by Rock Network, NPI, Aon, and Food Cycle Science. So that's our first one. So I encourage you to participate and attend. That's what we hope to continue to do with our learning sessions. So now I'm going to hand it back over to Fred, who will provide resolution for our committee's report.
Thanks for the encouragement. Okay, as the chair of the resolution committee, and on behalf of the resolution committee, I present the following resolutions that are recommended by the committee to sunset as they have either been resolved or are no longer relevant. And I'll read through them quickly for you. Building Snowmobile Tourism Conflict of Interest Act, Next Gen 911, bicycle signage for highway safety, pedestrian safety crossing provincial highways, changes to patient enrollment models, AMCTO responds to announcement of Better Local Government Act, reunification of the Roma Conference, United Counties of Prescott and Russell, United States, Mexico, Canada Agreement on Trade, UNESCO, connection of remote communities in Northwestern Ontario, Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund application-based funding, NOMA petitions the province to consult on OMPF, railway taxation, and amendment addition to energy policy. So there's a motion moving forward that the resolutions be presented to be sunsetted as they have either been resolved or no longer relevant. So I need a mover and a seconder, please. Rick Dumas, Jody Davis. Any opposed?
Can you go to the mic? Sorry. That's okay.
All right. Microphone on? Okay, good. So in regards to the sunsetting of the resolutions, Madam President, at any given time, we want to bring back as a board or as a governing body of NOMA, as the representatives of 37 municipalities, can we bring one of those resolutions back to the table at any time so we can bring back to the argument for the government of Ontario?
Can we?
Yeah.
For sure we can, Rick. A lot of these that we have found, we've met with government, as you're aware, met with government, many delegations, conversations, and we know that the government is not moving on a lot of these. So there's no sense of us continuing to move forward if the province isn't willing to move forward, but we can always bring something back. And of course, you know, maybe a new government, or we don't know what's going to happen after June 2nd. So. Okay, so we had a mover and a seconder. Any questions? No further questions? Any opposed? Okay, carried. The following resolution will expire if not readopted. The resolution committee is offering resolution 2022-01 joint and several liability for consideration by delegates for readopting. The resolution can be found on page 23 of the conference package. The motion that resolution 2022-01 be approved as presented. I need a mover and a seconder, please. Richard, second. Mayor Cahoot. Any opposed? None carried. There are also 5 new resolutions that are recommended for consideration by the NOMA membership. They can be found in the AGM agenda package on pages 24 through 28. The resolutions are Resolution 2022-02 Housing Development Support, 2022-03 Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot, 2022-04 Reducing OPP Policing Costs, 22-05 Northwestern Health Unit Funding, 22-06 Highway 17 Kenora to Thunder Bay. Are there any objections to addressing these resolutions as one complete package? Okay, seeing none. We need a mover and a seconder, please. Chris Van Wellingham, Jody, both from Kenora. Any opposed? Carried. Thank you very much.
Don't take my notes, Fred. I think we're at number 10 now, right? Okay, so there is no further business to discuss. So unless you all want to continue to hear me chat up here, we need a mover and a seconder to adjourn this AGM. Kevin. Is there any opposed? So that concludes our first day, everyone. So I'd like to invite you all to join us upstairs at the opening reception and trade show. It starts at 6, but can we go up now, Andrea? Okay, we can go up now. She gave out tickets. If you didn't get any, the black and white tickets, see Andrea if you didn't get any. Everyone's provided a drink ticket and your name tag as well for this evening. provided to the bartender for a glass of juice, pop, or basic bar rail. Just kidding, you can have some booze. There's no TM in the building, so if you need any more than those drink tickets to drink, you better get some cash. If you need an ATM, there's banks in town within a few minutes drive. So thank you, everyone. It's been a great day, and enjoy the evening. And we'll see you all bright here in the morning at 6:45 a.m. Yeah, you know my room number. How do you know my room number? Please make sure you go upstairs, not only for the booze, but we got all our sponsors up there too. I think so, eh? Where's Wendy? Wendy, everybody's good to just leave their stuff on the tables? Yeah? Okay, you can leave your stuff on the tables if you like. Oh, geez. Oh.